Matt, this chart does not whisper. It speaks in pressure, exile, ambition, discipline, hidden fire, and karmic responsibility. When I look at this chart through the house lords, the message is blunt. You are not designed for a soft, ordinary, emotionally comfortable life. You are designed for a life where comfort is delayed, maturity is forced, and power is built through pressure. The chart is not saying, relax and things will happen. It is saying, discipline your mind, master your private chaos, and your destiny opens. The first thing I see is the Lagna Lord, Saturn, sitting in the ninth house. This is the engine of personality. The first Lord tells me how you carry yourself, how your body moves through life, how your identity develops, how you make decisions, how your destiny takes shape. When the first Lord goes into the ninth, your whole life becomes tied to dharma, belief, higher learning, teachers, father figures, philosophy, law, ethics, long-distance travel, and the search for meaning. But this is Saturn. So you do not get easy belief. You do not get easy luck. You do not get that soft everything will work out innocence. You test life. You test people. You test teachers. You test systems. Somewhere inside, you carry the feeling that blessings must be earned, not received. And that makes you serious. It makes you responsible. It makes you look older than your age emotionally, even if you do not show it. Saturn in the ninth gives a person who grows through discipline, distance, delay, and moral pressure. Your luck improves with age, but not because life becomes magically easy. It improves because you become harder to fool, harder to distract, harder to emotionally manipulate. You slowly become a person who understands structure, consequence, justice, and long-term karma. And because Saturn is connected to Libra energy here, your identity is deeply linked to fairness, balance, contracts, accountability, and social order. You do not respect authority just because someone has a title. You respect authority when it has competence, maturity, and integrity. If someone is powerful but careless, you can see through them. If someone is spiritual but inconsistent, you can see through them. If someone talks big but cannot carry responsibility, you can see through them. But here is the raw part. This placement can also make you feel life is one long examination. You may feel you are always being judged by systems, by mentors, by society, by your own inner critic. You may feel you have to become useful before you are allowed to be happy. And that is where the chart becomes dangerous. Because if Saturn takes over completely, you stop living and start enduring. Now the deeper mystery. Saturn is not only the first lord, Saturn also rules the 12th house, and this creates one of the most important patterns in the chart. The 12th lord sits in the 9th, and the 9th lord Venus sits in the 12th. That is an exchange between the 9th and 12th houses. This is not a small detail. This is a destiny signature. The 9th house is dharma, fortune, teachers, higher wisdom, father, blessings, long-distance journeys. The 12th house is foreign lands, isolation, sleep, expenses, loss, retreat, hospitals, ashrams, private suffering, hidden work, spiritual release. When these two houses exchange, your fortune does not come comfort. Your fortune comes from distance. It comes from foreign environments. It comes from leaving familiar emotional territory. It comes from being pushed into spaces where you have to surrender something. This is why your life may not improve when you cling to the known. It improves when you enter the unknown with discipline. This exchange says, foreign lands can open doors. Private work can become destiny. Spiritual practices can become survival tools. Long-distance connections can shape fortune. But the price is emotional distance. The price is loneliness. The price is having to leave behind people, places, beliefs, or identities that once made you feel safe. You are not meant to borrow your philosophy from others. You are meant to build one from your own lived pressure. Now look at Venus, the 9th lord, sitting in the 12th house. This is fortune going into foreignness, privacy, retreat, expense, and spiritual longing. The 9th lord in the 12th says luck is not always visible. Blessings may come quietly. Teachers may come from faraway places. Relationships may carry spiritual lessons. Travel may change your belief system. Expenditure on education, relocation, healing, spiritual work, or private comfort becomes part of your path. But Venus also rules the 4th house. So the lord of home, emotional peace, mother, property, vehicles, inner contentment, and private happiness also goes into the 12th. This is a major emotional signature. It says, peace is not easy. Home may not feel fixed. Emotional security may feel distant. You may live away from your birthplace or feel internally displaced even when you are physically at home. You may create beautiful private spaces, but still feel something is missing. You may crave comfort, beauty, affection, and emotional softness, but life repeatedly pushes you into duty, solitude, work, or distance. This can give foreign residence, private homes, spiritual homes, or a strong need for a quiet bedroom, retreat-like living space, or emotionally regulated environment. But it can also create a subtle sadness, the feeling that home is somewhere else, or that peace is always one step away. And then Rahu sits in the fourth house, intensifying this further. Rahu in the fourth creates hunger for home, property, comfort, emotional security, luxury, vehicles, land, and rootedness. But Rahu does not satisfy easily. It creates obsession first, peace later. So one part of you wants stability deeply, another part keeps feeling restless inside it. This is the contradiction. You may chase the perfect home, the perfect emotional setup, the perfect private life, the perfect feeling of security. But Rahu keeps saying not enough, more, better, different. So the real correction is not just buying property, changing homes, decorating rooms, or searching for comfort. The real correction is emotional detox. You have to stop outsourcing inner peace to external arrangements. Now let us go to Mars, because Mars is one of the strongest forces in this chart. Mars rules the third house and the 10th house. That means Mars carries effort, courage, skills, communication, siblings, initiative, hands, self-made ability, profession, public karma, status, authority, and career visibility. And Mars sits in the 12th house, exalted. This is powerful, but not simple. The third lord in the 12th means your effort happens behind the scenes. Your courage is often private. You may train in silence. You may fight battles nobody sees. You may develop skills in isolation. You may do your best work when removed from noise. Siblings, peers, or friends may have distance, foreign links, or karmic complexity. The 10th lord in the 12th is even more important. Career goes into foreign lands, institutions, hidden systems, private organizations, remote work, confidential roles, hospitals, labs, research, spiritual institutions, back-end operations, technical systems, and places where the work is real but not always publicly visible. This is not a chart for shallow career glamour. This is a chart for serious professional machinery. You can operate in pressure. You can handle complex systems. You can work through technical problems, crisis situations, confidential structures, foreign setups, and high responsibility environments. Mars exalted gives execution power. It says when you decide to act, you can become relentless. But here is the danger. The 12th house can hide the result. You may do the work while someone else gets the applause. You may carry the load while the visible person gets the credit. You may be the engine room, not the stage. And if you do not understand this, you may feel invisible, used, or under-recognized. The answer is not to stop working. The answer is to choose environments where hidden mastery is valued. Technical leadership, engineering systems, research, automation, operations, security, crisis management, institutional strategy, foreign corporate environments, confidential advisory roles. These are the kinds of spaces where this Mars can win. But if you use this Mars unconsciously, it creates private anger, sleep disturbance, sexual restlessness, burnout, hidden frustration, and emotional distance. Exalted Mars in the 12th can work like a machine and then collapse when nobody is watching. So the instruction is clear. Protect your sleep, regulate your body, and give your aggression a disciplined outlet. Otherwise, the same power that builds your career can burn your nervous system. Now, the 10th house itself is loaded. Sun, Mercury, and Ketu are sitting there in Scorpio. This is a career house full of secrecy, intensity, intelligence, authority, detachment, and transformation. The 7th Lord Sun sits in the 10th. That means partnerships, clients, marriage, contracts, and public dealings directly affect career. Your spouse or partners may influence your public image. Business alliances can shape your status. You may attract powerful, proud, intense, authoritative, or professionally visible people. You may also attract people who want recognition, control, respect, or influence. But Sun in Scorpio is not soft leadership. It is hidden leadership. It wants power, but not always in obvious ways. It sees politics. It senses betrayal. It understands hierarchy. It can protect fiercely, but it can also become suspicious. In the 10th, this gives leadership potential, but it also brings ego clashes with authority figures if there is no mutual respect. Then Mercury sits in the 10th as the 5th lord and the 8th lord. This is one of the most important career intelligence signatures in the chart. The 5th lord in the 10th means intelligence becomes profession. Talent becomes visible through work. Your mind is meant to be used publicly. You cannot do dead, repetitive, brainless work and remain alive inside. You need analysis, strategy, problem solving, communication, research, advisory work, technical systems, hidden information, crisis handling, and intelligent complexity. But Mercury also rules the 8th house, so the 8th lord in the 10th brings secrets into career, crisis into career, transformation into career, sudden changes into career, hidden enemies into career, research, investigation, occult, psychology, risk, insurance, compliance, confidential data, forensic thinking, and deep systems all become relevant. This is not a simple communicator. This is a surgical mind. Mercury in Scorpio does not just talk, it investigates, it detects motives, it reads between the lines, it sees what is not being said. It can become excellent in technical analysis, crisis diagnosis, psychology, occult work, cybersecurity, research, strategy, documentation, audit, and advisory fields. But Ketu is also there. Ketu in the 10th with Sun and Mercury gives past life professional mastery, but also detachment. You may become very good at something and then suddenly lose interest. You may reject public recognition because it feels empty. You may leave roles unexpectedly. You may feel that career identity is not enough. You may not fully trust the professional world because you can see its games too clearly. This is the raw paradox. You are meant to become visible through work, but a part of you does not care about visibility. You are meant to handle authority, but a part of you rejects shallow authority. You are meant to use intelligence professionally, but a part of you gets bored when intelligence is used only for money. So your career has to carry meaning. It has to involve depth. It has to solve something real. Otherwise, Ketu will detach you from it. Now let us look at relationships, because this chart is not easy in partnership. The 6th Lord Moon sits in the 7th house. The 6th house is conflict, debt, disease, disputes, service, criticism, daily duties, enemies, and problem solving. The 7th house is spouse, partners, clients, contracts, public dealings. When the 6th Lord goes into the 7th, relationships become work. This does not automatically deny marriage, but it says partnership will not survive on romance alone. It requires routines. It requires emotional maturity. It requires service. It requires conflict resolution. It requires humility. If ignored, it brings arguments, criticism, emotional projection, disputes, competition, and the feeling that the relationship has become a job. Moon in Leo wants warmth, admiration, affection, respect, loyalty, romance, and emotional recognition. In Purva Falguni, the moon wants pleasure, beauty, comfort, intimacy, celebration, creativity, and bonding. So emotionally, you may want love to feel generous, expressive, loyal, and affectionate. But because this moon is the 6th Lord, emotional needs can turn into complaints. Affection can turn into expectation. Desire for loyalty can turn into conflict. Romantic warmth can become emotional drama. You may attract people who need rescuing, managing, healing, or emotionally servicing. Or you may project your own work stress onto the partner. This is one of the biggest areas needing attention. Relationship cannot become a battlefield for unresolved stress. If professional pressure is high, the partner must not become the emotional dumping ground. If emotional insecurity rises, it must not become criticism, withdrawal, or dramatic testing. And because the 7th Lord Sun is with Ketu in the 10th, relationships are karmic. Partners may be intense, powerful, proud, status conscious, spiritually significant, or professionally connected. But there can also be detachment, separation, distance, or a feeling that ordinary relationship patterns do not fully satisfy you. The raw message is this: do not marry chaos just because it feels magnetic. Do not choose power over peace. Do not choose status over emotional maturity. Do not confuse intensity with intimacy. Now, Jupiter is the saving grace in the chart. Jupiter rules the 2nd house and the 11th house and sits strongly in the 11th. This is a major wealth and network signature. The second lord in the 11th says speech, knowledge, family values, accumulated wealth, and resources move toward gains, networks, audiences, alliances, and income. You can earn through speaking, advising, teaching, consulting, institutional knowledge, philosophy, finance, law, education, spiritual frameworks, or large communities. The 11th lord in the 11th strengthens gains. It says you can build networks, you can attract communities, you can gain from knowledge. You can scale your work. You can find patrons, advisors, senior connections, or circles that increase your income and influence. But Jupiter in Sagittarius can also become morally inflated. It can think it knows. It can overpromise. It can become too ideological. So the correction is humility. Use wisdom, but do not weaponize belief. Teach, but do not preach from ego. Build networks, but choose them carefully. Your gains improve when your communities are aligned with truth, not just ambition. Financially, this chart can earn, but the 12th house is strong, so money can also leak. Foreign travel, relocation, private comforts, relationships, property, education, spiritual work, hidden expenses, all of these can drain wealth if not consciously managed. So the rule is simple. Your income can rise, but your expenses must be disciplined. Otherwise, the 11th house fills the bucket and the 12th house drills holes into it. Now, if I compress the whole chart into one sentence, I would say this. Matt is a disciplined, private, strategic, spiritually restless person whose career rises through hidden mastery, foreign or institutional environments, deep intelligence, and crisis-solving ability, but whose emotional life, relationships, and inner peace require serious conscious work. This chart is not weak. It is heavy. Heavy charts produce heavy people. People who can carry responsibility, people who can survive pressure, people who can see the truth beneath performance. But heavy charts also create loneliness if the person does not learn emotional openness. The dominant areas needing attention are clear. First, home and emotional peace. Rahu in the 4th and 4th lord in the 12th show that peace does not come naturally. It must be designed. Your living space must be clean, quiet, beautiful, and energetically protected. Do not live in emotional chaos. Do not let domestic instability destroy your nervous system. Second, relationships. The 6th lord in the 7th means partnership requires work. Without boundaries, it becomes conflict. Without service, it becomes resentment. Without emotional honesty, it becomes projection. You must learn to speak before resentment becomes poison. Third, career burnout. Exalted Mars in the 12th can make you work beyond limits. You may think you are being strong, but the body keeps score. Sleep, exercise, sexual discipline, and recovery are not optional. They are your survival system. Fourth, professional politics. Sun, Mercury, and Ketu in Scorpio in the 10th can attract hidden games. Do not reveal strategy to everyone. Do not trust titles blindly. Do not get pulled into ego wars. And do not become so suspicious that you isolate yourself from allies. Fifth, money leakage. Jupiter gives gains, but the 12th house takes through unconscious spending. Track expenses. Structure investments. Do not spend emotionally to compensate for inner emptiness. Sixth, faith. Saturn in the 9th means your belief system matures slowly. Do not force borrowed spirituality. Build tested wisdom. What survives your suffering becomes your truth. The consequence of ignoring this clear. Career strength becomes burnout. Intelligence becomes suspicion, relationships become conflict, home becomes restlessness, money becomes leakage, and spirituality becomes isolation. But the consequence of mastering this chart is powerful. You become a person others trust when life gets complex. You become the strategist, the analyst, the builder, the one who can operate behind the curtain, the one who can handle crisis without falling apart. The one who understands that success without inner discipline is just decorated exhaustion. So the highest path here is not to chase comfort first. The highest path is to build a life where discipline, meaning, emotional maturity, and private peace support your public work. This is not a chart of ordinary luck. This is a chart of earned destiny. And if you want your own chart, read this way. Not through vague predictions, but through house lords, exchanges, placements, nakshatras, and the real functional engine of your life, get in touch with me for a personal reading. Because once you understand which house lord is driving which area of your life, you stop guessing. You start seeing the architecture. You start seeing why the same patterns keep repeating. And more importantly, you start seeing where your power is actually hidden.